Let's go. Oh, ignition on. Hello and welcome back to Seaside Garage. This video wasn't supposed to be like this, but I think you will like it anyway. Something happened, and let me explain in a second. The sponsor of this video, Carmalarky, asked me some questions about my history with cars, and if you want to hear those answers, some of them will be after the ending credits on this video, and the full interview will be on Carmalarky's homepage, and the link is down in the description. Okay, so I spent all day yesterday working on the car and making a video. Unfortunately, when I went to edit that video, it turned out I had a lot of material, but absolutely no sound. This has happened once before, but not on all the footage that I made, so I cannot really use it for anything. But I will show some of the clips from that while speaking to you right now, but just want to show you the annoying thing that happens. This is the microphone that I'm using. There is another one on the camera that looks like this. And they look quite similar. They are brilliant microphones, so this is not a bashing of that, but there is a small jack that goes from the unit I just showed you and into the camera. On this one there's also a small jack that you can use to put on an external microphone if you want to have one of those dead cats on your shirt or something. But if you're not paying attention, it's possible to put this on the camera and put the jack in this and into the camera, and then put the other one on the shirt. That will mean you have made a completely closed loop with no sound for the camera, and the camera won't record its own sound because it's connected to a mini jack, so there will be no sound, unfortunately. I did a lot of work on that video. I have fitted the rear lights, 2 lights on each side that works both as the running lights and the brake light. I also fitted a number plate light in the middle. I made a new wiring harness for the rear end and made sure that everything worked. And then I started the full treatment of the car by painting it in over-troll oil, drying it off with a rag. I really had a Bob Ross moment doing that. That was probably the most satisfying thing I have done to this car. And in the end I fitted the bonnet and all that. And this is the result. And I gotta say, I love how it turned out. The over-troll oil is giving it some shine. I could adjust that by the amount I would take off with a cloth, and I can also scratch it up a bit with a very fine Scotch Brite pad. But I like this look, and the look is very protective of the paint because this car will see rainwater. And if that rust is exposed, it will go very, very quickly. So now it's protected. It looks very awesome when water hits it because it will pearl like a completely waxed car. It looks nice. And I really think this car turned out really nice. And now I think it is time to do the first test drive in this car. And that is going to be very frightening and also very exciting. But before doing that, I want to change the oil in the gearbox because I haven't touched that. So I'm just going to refresh that and then pray that it works as it is supposed to. It's going to be very exciting, this. There we go. So let's take this on the road, probably for the first time since 86. Let's go. Oh, ignition on. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know how much you will be able to hear, probably a lot because the microphone tends to be pretty good. But it's quite noisy in here. The speedometer is not working. The cable is snapped as far as I remember. Forgot about that one. I'm driving the AZU, third gear. Should we try fourth? It's a bit uphill. It's alright. And very, very noisy. The gear selector is very stiff because the bushings in the rod is swollen. Need to do something about that. But it's not going too bad. Testing the brakes. Decent. Steering is really noisy. Really needs some lube. Something about the gear selector, it's very stiff. I need to do some adjustment to the brakes. I need to lubricate this steering wheel, which is very noisy. The speedo is not working. I need to do something about that because without the speedo I won't be able to start the windscreen. Windscreen wipers won't work without the speedo cable, so I need to do something about that also. But it's getting there, and it's definitely not the worst first test drive I've been on, especially considering that this hasn't driven for 40 years, which is crazy. are very, 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 very fun and slightly terrifying. It's quite amazing how much they improved on the 2CV. Driving this and then driving a newer 2CV6 is very, very different. You can feel it's the same, but it's just like the same thing on a different planet. But I think I'm gonna drive home and fix the last few bits, and then it should be ready to at least an MOT attempt, which is not completely crazy. I am really looking forward to seeing how well it's gonna do, because there's so many things that is a bit weird on this one, so I hope it will pass. So please cross your fingers. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to stay around, because I will answer some questions about my car history after the ending credits. But either way, thank you for watching, and see you in the next one. Hello, and thanks for sticking around. Carmalarky asked me some questions about my history with the cars, and I'm gonna include a couple of them right here. If you want to read the full interview, there is a link down in the description that leads to Carmalarky's homepage, and I highly suggest to check it out. Anyway, the first question, what was my first car? And it's a bit difficult to answer, not really, but I had a first car that I didn't have for very long, and then I had another car after that that I feel is my first car. But the first car I got was a Citroen ZX 1.8 Furio, I think it was called. My parents actually gave that car to me because they just bought another one. It was on its last legs, but it was a very nice car. It had 250 something kilometers on the clock, and it was pretty quick, especially for a new driver. Unfortunately, I did not have any kind of mechanical empathy, as I like to call it. So I didn't really know what to look for and how to care for the engine. So for instance, when I jumped into the car, I turned it on and then I just raced it. Like you do when you just got your driver's license, of course. I didn't know the importance of heating up the engine component slowly, getting the oil up to temperature before flooring it. And that could maybe be the reason why I didn't have it for very long. I think I had it a month or something, maybe a bit more. I can't really remember. It is a couple of years ago. But suddenly one day I started it up and raced it, as I always did, and it sounded very, very weird. So I switched it off, and I knew nothing about cars back then, so we just had to get it towed to the local shop. And they told us that the crankshaft had snapped. And they bought it very cheaply, and then that was that. I am still puzzled about that. The engine really didn't sound good, so I'm pretty sure the engine was toast, but snapped crankshaft? I'd like to see that. But it's probably true. And after that, I got my second first car. This car was something that I found and bought myself. It was a Mazda 323 from 1981. It was the perfect car for a new driver. I bought it from an old lady. It was a one owner. There was still plastic on the seats and all that. It was so nice. It was a 1.0 or 1.1, I'm not really sure, 4-speed. And I really loved that car. And because I liked that car so much, and because of the freedom I felt when getting a car and a driver's license, it was just a totally new world. If the car didn't work, I would lose my freedom, and I had absolutely no money. Luckily, my very good friend was pretty good at fixing cars, so he taught me some stuff along the way. For instance, the Mazda, if I touched the brake once, the front right brake caliper would bind up, overheat, and just get stuck, so you couldn't drive it. So for a while, I tried driving that car around without using the brakes, because one touch of the brakes and I would have to take a very long break. Of course, that didn't really work for long, so I had to learn how to fix it, taking the caliper off and massaging the piston in and out. I couldn't afford a new caliper, of course. And I gotta say, the sheer joy of fixing that car with my own hands and help from my friend It pretty much blindsided me how cool that felt. And getting the freedom back wasn't bad either. So I think that fueled the enthusiasm. And then I just started to be very nerdy about the cars. And I have always been nerdy about my interests. I was a fly fisher when I was a child. I like to make my own flies and so on. I like to dig into whatever I'm interested in. And the same happened with cars and later on mopeds. I just like to read about them, about the model range, about the production, about the story, about the faults especially. And then it just grew from there. I really enjoy fixing a problem without the proper tools, without the spare parts, just making it work so you can get back home. And a couple of, many years ago actually, I drove around in a Volkswagen Synchro, the Doka version, the double cabin version. And far away from home, I snapped the accelerator cable. And if you know how the T3 or the T25 is laid out, the engine is in the back. So it's not just a small cable, it's quite a long cable and it goes all the way to the back. So it's not something that can easily be fixed. And I didn't have a cable anyway. Luckily, it broke down pretty close to a hardware shop where I could go and buy a very long string. And then I could route that into the engine and up and in through the double cabin and then all the way up to the front seat. And then I could pull it with my left hand because I needed my right hand to change gears. And then pull it and then put it in gear and then drive it. And then I drove it, I think I drove it 100 kilometers home with that string set up. And then I actually got pretty good at it at some point and pretty much could just bind it to my arm and then use that for the throttle and then steer and change gear like normal. Yes, I did fix it as soon as I got home. It wasn't that easy to drive with, but it was just such a fun experience and I really like those kinds of things. Getting stuff to work so you can get home. One thing, it's very satisfying to fix a problem without having to call help. Another thing, you will never forget it, that's for sure. So yeah, if you want to know more about my car history, I highly suggest to go down below and find the link to the Carmalarky homepage and read the entire interview. And also check Carmalarky out because it's pretty cool and I think a lot of you will like it. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.